After more than 2 decades on air, Kelly Ripa has opened up about her plans to step away from hosting Live with Kelly and Mark. The TV personality, 55, recently sat down with Decider to reflect on her job amidst the 25th anniversary of her co-leading the show. And while she had nothing but positive things to say about her role, she hinted that she might be leaving sooner rather than later. Contrary to what everyone around here thinks, I don't intend on working for the rest of my life, she admitted. But I think we'll all make that decision when the time comes. Ripa, who currently hosts the talk show with husband Mark Consuelos, 54, added that when the time does come for her to step away, she will make sure they find the perfect co-host to replace her. I think there's a way to sort of get new people on board and have them test co-hosts and get the audience used to other people, she continued. I think it's important. I love this show too much to see it sort of ever end with us. She vowed that the show will continue to flourish, even when she eventually moves on. For me, I always say this job and this place is so special that I really do believe in this show as a franchise. It's a franchise show, she explained. Before me, there was Regis, Philbin, and Kathie Gifford. And before Kathie, there was Regis and a myriad of other hosts. I believe this show will continue on for as long as linear television exists. I believe that there are too many talented people out there that really deserve the opportunity to find their own audience and grow the audience the way they see fit. Because I don't intend to work for the rest of my life. I really do not. Ripa, who described her job as so special, recalled being a fan of the show long before she joined as a host, explaining that she was drawn to it because it was so unique. I really thought it was very funny, very irreverent. There was nothing else on TV like it, she gushed. But she added that it was the schedule that really cemented her taking the job all those years ago, since it allowed her to also have time to be present for her 3 kids, Michael, 28, Lola, 24, and Joaquin, 22, whom she shares with Consuelos. Working here has been unique to me in myriad ways because I've been able to work full-time professionally and yet also raise a family, which is very different from most entertainers in this business, she said. If you have a family, you're often having to take your kids out of school and move across the country, or move depending on what series you're working on, anywhere. And I was able to raise my kids in the same place, in the same town, going to the same school, all of their lives. That really appealed to me. I knew the show was special from watching it, but the work schedule was what really appealed to me initially. As for what allowed it to withstand the test of time, Ripa said she believes it's because they cover the issues that people have in their own homes. We're very irreverent. We cover the news, but we cover the absurdity of the news. We cover the absurd, she explained. Our job when we come on the air, we are fully cognizant that the viewers at home have had 5 hours of news programming. So we try to bring them a lighter, less anxiety-inducing side of what the headlines have to offer. Kelly Ripa woke to the ordinary hum of a studio morning and felt, for the first time in a long while, a peculiar, gentle tug toward the horizon. It wasn't a dramatic thing, no sudden bolt of revelation, but more like noticing a familiar painting on a wall and realizing you've lived with it long enough that its corners are beginning to soften. The makeup mirrors stayed the same. The fluorescent lights still hummed with the same dependable buzz, and the script pages were the same thin paper she'd flipped through for years. Yet something in her chest, a place usually reserved for jokes and punchlines, was quietly arranging itself into a different rhythm. That week was the show's anniversary, a silver thread of time stitched through morning coffee, wardrobe racks, and the endless small rituals that transform chaos into broadcast. The program, known to millions as Live with Kelly and Mark, was celebrating another year of laughter and interviews and the kind of human errors that become lovable trademarks. In the green room, between greeting producers and picking at a banana, she agreed to speak with an online magazine, Decider, about the milestone. The conversation felt natural, a casual unpacking of memories and the practicalities that make a daytime show both durable and oddly domestic. She spoke, as she often did, in the language of gratitude. There was the work, yes, and the joy of an audience that came back morning after morning, but there was also the life beyond the cameras. She thought of the mornings that began at school drop-offs, of soccer games and parent-teacher nights, of quiet dinners where the day's absurdities were traded for homework and laughter. For more than 2 decades, the show had been her steady shore. It had given her a career and a rhythm that allowed her to raise children while remaining present on stage, a rare balance in a world where careers often demanded uprooting and reinvention. She said plainly that she did not intend to work forever. It was not a farewell, not yet, but a promise to herself, voiced with the same clarity she reserved for life's smaller certainties. Contrary to what everyone around here thinks, I don't intend on working for the rest of my life, she said. The line landed softly in interviews that week and ricocheted through headlines and talkback threads. People read it as a hint, as an opening, a window cracked open just enough to let a breeze of possibility through. Backstage, she watched the rehearsals the way someone watches their children practice, careful, proud, and slightly aching. Her husband, Mark Consuelos, was at the other microphone, a steadying presence and the co-anchor of their shared mornings. Together, they had become part of the show's enduring arch, a duo that blended marital ease with on-air repartee. Mark's laughter filled the stage in a way that made the audience lean in, her quick retorts with a punctuation that kept the rhythm lively. They had built a life that balanced the public and private in a manner many admired and some envied. And yet, even in the midst of that partnership, Kelly's mind had been roaming a little further than it used to. She thought about how the show had outlived hosts and fads, how it had a lineage that included stars like Regis Philbin and Kathie Gifford, names that belonged to other eras but whose legacy lingered in the format's bones. The idea of the program as a franchise, a living thing that could take on new faces and continue, comforted her. It meant the show was larger than any single personality. That perspective made her less anxious about the inevitable passing of the torch and more thoughtful about the manner of handing it over. In the small hours, when she sat alone in her dressing room and the city outside buzzed with its nocturnal life, she thought about the first time she watched the show as a viewer. It had felt raw and irreverent in a way that made it stand out from everything else on daytime TV. It was funny, occasionally absurd, and refreshingly unafraid to be itself. It offered viewers a lighter mirror to the day's relentless stream of headline anxiety, a place where people could exhale for a half hour and laugh at the absurdities life threw their way. That ethos, the mix of candor, warmth, and irreverence, was what she had always loved about the show. It was also, she realized, what she loved about herself. She had never intended to become a symbol for anything beyond being a woman who liked to make people laugh on a television set and who liked, more than anything, to go home and be a mom when the day was done. And yet, over the years, she had become part of a cultural fabric. Viewers had invited her into their kitchens and their cars and their morning routines. She had become part of weekday mornings in living rooms across the country. When the conversation with this sider turned to Succession, Kelly's voice softened with practical tenderness. She did not want the show to stop with her departure. She wanted it to adapt and to be given every chance to flourish with new voices. That required planning and sensitivity, a careful auditioning of chemistry and character. I think there's a way to sort of get new people on board and have them test co-hosts and get the audience used to other people, she had said. It was a measured statement, less a prediction and more an intention. She pictured a future where young hosts could find their footing under the bright lights, where the format would evolve without losing the core of what made it beloved. Outside, the world was loud with speculation. Fans and critics traded theories about who might step into the role when the time came. Talent shows and late-night monologues spun into the rumor mill. Yet amid the clamor, Kelly kept a private ledger of things that mattered more. Less the ratings and more the rituals of a family dinner, the smell of her child's hair after a bath, the soft surrender of Sunday afternoon when the city seemed to hush. She wanted those things to have room in her life, and she realized she had earned the right to choose the rhythm that would let them in.